Nose-rubbing dragon. China bows before India's conditions. Imagine, a time has come when the world's most powerful manufacturing machine, known to us as China, has been brought to its knees, not only bowing before India, but being forced to metaphorically rub its nose in submission. This is the same dragon that once ruled global markets, dominated technology, and used its influence to intimidate neighboring countries into accepting its terms. But now, the picture has changed. The US's 245% tariff has broken China's backbone, and in its aftermath, China has once again approached India, but this time with peace, with a bowed head, and accepting India's tough conditions. Today, we'll discuss this topic in depth. But before that, if you are new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe so you are the first to receive updates on all our latest videos. So let's begin today's discussion without further delay. In the past few weeks, when China expressed its willingness to resume trade with India, some thought it was just a routine diplomatic move. But the reality beneath is far deeper, more strategic, and surprising. India has now made it clear that in any agreement with China, national interests and technological sovereignty will take top priority. Chinese companies can no longer establish a foothold in India unless they agree to the condition of technology transfer, and even then, only with a limited 10% equity investment allowed. This decision is not merely economic, it is a diplomatic revolution. The US-China tariff war has caused massive disruption in the global supply chain, and India is now cleverly capitalizing on that. This time, India is not acting like a developing country, but as a determined strategist. China's submission before India is not just commercial desperation, it marks the collapse of a long-standing Chinese policy that forced other countries to play by its terms. The most significant aspect of India's conditions is technology transfer. In other words, if Chinese companies want to invest in India, they must share their technological secrets. This condition is not only a bitter pill for China, but it also has the potential to inject fresh energy into India's manufacturing capabilities. It ensures that India is not just treated as a market, but emerges as a center of technology as well. Furthermore, by limiting Chinese companies to only a 10% stake, India has clearly signaled that it will no longer allow majority foreign control in any of its sectors, especially in those involving strategic sovereignty, such as electronics, solar equipment, or drilling machines. This stance is not merely about national security, it's a bold step toward the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant India. According to government sources, this decision comes at a time when many tech companies from the US and Europe are exploring the option of relocating from China to India. India's strategy is crystal clear: if you want to shift units from China to India, you must play by India's rules. In certain cases, the government may allow up to 49% equity, but that will remain the exception, not the norm. Now the question arises, why is India enforcing such strict measures? The answer lies in the fear that emerged after the 2020 Galwan Valley incident. India realized that China exerts its influence not just at the borders, but also through technology and supply chains. India's dependence on China for drilling machines, solar panel equipment, and electronics is so high that, if it chooses, China could easily hinder India's progress. And now, India wants to eliminate this vulnerability at its roots. India does not want to end up in a situation like Vietnam, where China has built an entire electronics ecosystem and now casts its shadow even there. That's why India will no longer allow widespread Chinese investment. It will now approve such investments only on a highly controlled and strategic basis. India's next major move is to attract American companies to establish operations within the country and use India as a gateway to access the US market. For this, a bilateral trade agreement, BTA, between India and the US is expected to be signed by the end of this year. This agreement could offer India not only tax benefits in the American market but also geopolitical leverage. Apple is the perfect example of this shift. Initially, it was believed that Apple would bring its Chinese suppliers along for manufacturing in India. However, Apple made a major decision. It partnered with Taiwanese and Japanese suppliers in India and built a strong local supply chain. This move not only helped India advance technologically but also delivered a significant blow to China. Tata Electronics has begun manufacturing iPhone enclosures for Apple, and now most of Apple's devices, except the iPad, are being produced locally and exported as well. This is not only a matter of pride for India's manufacturing sector, but also a clear sign that India has become a strong contender in the global supply chain. A global brand like Apple has brought Indian suppliers such as Motherson Group, Jabil, Avas, Ecus, Sunvoda, Foxlink, Salcomp, and Bharat Forge into its network. This makes it clear that India is no longer just a labor base. It is emerging as a hub for value addition, innovation, and high-tech manufacturing. This situation is deeply humiliating for China. There was a time when India was dependent on China for almost every form of technology, but now India is setting its own rules, and China is being forced to follow them. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It is the result of years of government policy, continuous reforms, initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat, and changing global circumstances. Now the question is, will China retaliate? Experts say that China's shrewdness hasn't entirely disappeared. It still holds significant control over the supply of drilling machines and electronic components. In such a scenario, India will need to further strengthen its supply chains and place greater trust in European and Japanese technologies. On the other hand, the Indian government is committed to not focusing solely on China, but also to strengthening strategic relations with other countries. The BTA with the US, technology collaboration with Japan and South Korea, and digital partnerships with the European Union are all part of India's multipolar strategy. The goal of this entire strategy is not just to counter China, but to position India as a place where it is not only a global producer, but also a decision-making power center. The conditions India has imposed in response to China's vulnerabilities are not merely commercial, they are critically important from strategic, security, and sovereignty perspectives. Moving forward, this firm stance by India will help establish it as a major force on the global stage. China is no longer merely seeking permission to trade in India. It is now requesting to invest by offering technology in return. And that is the clearest sign of a transformation, one where countries that feared the dragon for decades now have the power to look it in the eye and hand over their own terms.
If our video has taught you something new, do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestions. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources, news from various news agencies, opinion polls and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.